Is there a place for solo gameplay in MMOs like EVE Online? It's a bit of a contentious topic, especially in EVE Online community, but let me give you my take on it. Hi there everybody, I'm Reload. It's a fine day for video gaming and even a better day to present a ranting/opinion piece. Those of you who have been watching my channel for a while kinda know where I'm about to go with this thing, but I'm very interested to hear your opinions. So please leave a comment on this video with regards to how you feel about solo gameplay in EVE Online or any other MMO out there. I'll definitely read through all of them and reply to as many as I can, and if it warrants I may actually do a follow-up video on this. What really started me off thinking about this was my last stream on CCP's Twitch channel. I was streaming the latest Secrets of Abyss event, and it wasn't the first time that I was streaming the Triglavian sites. In fact, I've been streaming them almost every week since that whole update came out. But it was the first time where I received some negative feedback about it. Now, I'm well aware that any new update that EVE has, it does have a certain population, or I should say a subset of EVE players that will be unhappy with it, with the usual sentiment of why you're introducing new things when you haven't fixed the old ones yet. But in general, especially after the Into the Abyss expansion came out, the overall feedback on my streams and elsewhere I saw was overall positive. At least with regards to the idea of the Triglavian sites and the overall mechanics. That's why I was kind of surprised 3 months later that there would be people commenting negatively on it. I thought that by this time people would come to terms that the Triglavian sites are part of the game now. And the underlying issue of all this negative feedback was the fact that it isolates the players from the main player base. Let me elaborate on that a little bit. As you may or may not know, when you're running the Triglavian site, you are by yourself for at least 20 minutes. Or I should say at most 20 minutes. You have only 20 minutes to finish the whole site, and if you finish it early, that's fine. But in that instance, nobody else can interrupt you. So in a way, it is the very first time in the history of EVE that you are 100% by yourself. It is just you and the game environment. Of course, when you're running higher tier sites, particularly tier 4 and 5, people can always warp into your beacon. So you may or may not have a welcoming party once you finish that site. But for lower tiers, and as long as you're running the whole site, you are by yourself. And this particular game mechanic is what a few people really seem to be at odds with. They believe that there is no place for this kind of gameplay in an MMO, and instead the game developers should create gameplay elements that force or at the very least encourage cooperative gameplay. Now on the surface that kind of idea is very understandable. After all, we are playing a massively multiplayer online game, that's what we're here for. But the interesting caveat is that EVE Online is a sandbox game. That is, this game is what you make of it, and you can play it whatever way you like. Now I guess it's a good time to tell you that I'm a big proponent of solo gameplay in EVE. So that's my bias right there. One of the biggest influences of how I play this game was actually from the Butterfly Effect trailer from 2009.
In chaos theory, there's a concept known as sensitive dependence on initial conditions. Most people call it the butterfly effect. In EVE, we call it the sandbox.
I really bought this whole lone wolf thing being able to affect massive change through the butterfly effect. I started playing EVE back in 2010, and I knew ahead that the whole idea of solo gameplay or being a lone wolf would be one of the toughest things that you do in EVE. Because really you do require the help and support of other people in the game. At the very least you have to network your way through in order to advance. You want to be the best industrialist and miner? Well, eventually you have to make your way to nullsec and have the protection and support of other people. You want to learn PvP? Well, it's way easier with other people. You want to participate in those big Guinness World Records type of spaceship battles? Well, you have to be part of that alliance. So if you would like to play solo, the odds are already stacked against you in EVE. But that did not really deter me, because at the core, solo gameplay is what I look for and what I take out of EVE. So why bother play EVE? Why not pick up something like X3 and play that instead? Well, because even though for the majority of the gameplay I will never interact with any other person, but it's the idea that I can actually still affect change in the broader EVE Online universe because of the butterfly effect. Even though I'm playing quote-unquote solo, I'm not really playing alone. Whether I'm mining or running missions or doing the Triglavian sites, eventually everything I get ends up on the market. Somebody's gonna buy that stuff. Somebody can ninja loot my missions while I'm running them. And code would love to gank me when I am mining in high sec. Which, as a sidebar, if you get ganked by code mining in high sec, well, you kind of deserve it. Always pay attention, never AFK mine. When I'm ratting in nullsec, people regularly come in to try to take me out, and just traveling through lowsec you're bound to encounter a few pirate gate camps. See, playing solo in a game filled with other human players really adds the thrill of unexpected events. In EVE Online, you never fly alone no matter how hard you try. Well, unless you're trying to stream some PvP, flying through lowsec and you don't find anybody at all for like 2 hours straight. But that's a different story. In general, no matter what you do, your presence affects EVE Online universe as a whole. As for Triglavian sites in particular, they are a huge ISK sink. They are really tough, they don't offer much in terms of ISK reward, so it's really a boon for the industrialists. Before the Triglavian sites came out, I purchased one single healer in 7 years of me playing EVE Online, and ever since I've started running Triglavian sites, I've purchased 5 in the last 3 months. Who do you think made those healers? Who got the minerals and the materials to produce the healer? And who transported it to the trade hub? Another player or players did that. So even though, yes, I am isolated from other players out there for at most 20 minutes when I run a Triglavian site, you really cannot tell me that it is bad for all of EVE Online. That I am completely removed from the ecosystem and that it is hurting the game. That is just a disingenuous argument. And let's consider another scenario here. Most of us that play this game have other commitments and jobs and families. And sadly, as much as we'd like, we cannot spend 3 to 4 hours playing EVE Online per day. And let's get real here. Unless you're part of a red versus blue alliance, there's absolutely no way that you regularly get to log in and within 5 to 10 minutes you're part of a big fleet, you have an awesome op, and within half an hour to an hour you're done with awesome fight stories. If I'm wrong, please prove me wrong in the comments, I would really appreciate it actually. Most fleets out there are like herding cats. You'll be spinning your ship for an hour until everybody gets on grid and gets ready to go, then you're going to roam for the X amount of hours until you actually have a good fight. Or if it's wartime and you're actually attacking a nice war target, you get to spend the next 4 to 8 hours in a slugfest that is tie-dye. Even if you'd like to run PvE stuff like the incursions, you still have to wait for a known amount of time until you actually get accepted into the fleet, depending on if somebody leaves that fleet. What I'm trying to get at here is that if you don't have that much time to play EVE Online, there's really not that much choice for you with regards to what to do in game. And so in my opinion, the Triglavian sites are some of the best content out there in EVE for you to do piecemeal. So let's say I have an hour to play, so that's 2 to 3 sites that I can run. And the alternative is that, well, I just don't log in and play something else. And that what would really be hurtful to EVE. Not me personally not logging into EVE, but more as a whole when current players choose a different game with less time commitment. We shouldn't treat the solo content as something that's taken away from this multiplayer game, but more as something that brings other players into EVE, or retains the current players that really enjoyed the ease of solo PvE. Not everybody playing this game is an extrovert, and sometimes, at the end of the very long day, you just want to log in and not talk to anybody. You just want to play the game your own way. And here's where the whole idea of a sandbox comes in once again. A lot of times the negative comments associated with the solo gameplay come in the form of, well, you should play our way. You absolutely have to join a corporation, join a fleet, and only do everything as part of a group. That is the only way to have fun in EVE Online. Anything else and you're wasting your time, and why do you even bother playing this game? But the beauty of the sandbox is that I can play this game whatever way I see fit. I'm glad that you found a way where constant interaction with other players brings you the most enjoyable gameplay experience. But it doesn't mean that it is exactly what I would like to do every time I log in to play EVE. And just because I choose not to interact with you, that doesn't mean I'm taking anything away from your gameplay. There's plenty of other interactions available for you out there. Just let me build my own sandcastle in my own corner of the sandbox. You're more than welcome to come and destroy it once it's ready, but I can choose to build it on my own through my own means. At least this is my own take on solo gameplay in massively multiplayer online games. I think it's rather funny how in EVE solo content gets this negative connotation to it, as if any option to go on your own will tear the whole fabric of the game universe. compared to, for example, Fallout fans being really afraid how the new Fallout 76 will upset the whole order of the Fallout universe. Naturally, I think balance is somewhere in the middle. When the game is multiplayer, especially if it's sandbox multiplayer, you have to allow for different playstyles, including the ability to forge your own path on your own terms. With that in mind, I'm really glad that the EVE Online developers actually came out with the whole concept of Abyssal deadspace. I know my personal gameplay time increased considering especially how awesome these sites look and how much of a challenge they possess. And that's not to say I don't have my own problems with them, but at the very least I find them to be a welcome addition to EVE Online universe. I can see how this content can be expanded further into allowing fleets to participate in the same deadspace site, but allowing solo players to run them is a great first introduction. Think about the other addition to EVE, the pirate forward operating bases. It's great and engaging content, but it requires a large fleet to run properly. And to my knowledge, and please let me know if I'm wrong in the comments, but the community running the FOBs is not that large. So even though it's a very social activity where you have to rely on other people in order to cooperate and run these sites, it remains a rather inaccessible activity where not a lot of people actually have tried it. Introducing something as solo content and then stepping it up to a small gang, I think is a better way to go in my opinion. Well, this has been a rather long-winded rant that kind of went out on a tangent a little bit, but I just want to hear your opinions on the solo gameplay, whether it's EVE Online or any other MMO out there that you're playing. What do you think of it? Is it bad, good, neutral? I feel like there's way more people out there playing EVE Online as a solo gameplay and prefer it that way than we would think. Naturally, if you play more casually and don't really engage the community in-game, you may not be engaging the community whether it's on forums, Twitter, YouTube or any other social media. But let me know, I'm really curious to hear about your experiences. Please give this video a like if you agree with me, dislike if you disagree, that's quite alright. I'm Reload, thanks so much for listening and I'll see you in my next video.